Hello, hello, hello. We're just getting set up. I think we are now set up. We had a few issues trying to get everybody's, well, I say everybody's, me and Corey, getting our cameras all aligned and his stuff going. Just a quick thing. If you are joining us live, then please, 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 it's probably a good idea if you're able to switch off your mobile phone and your Twitter and your Facebook and all that kind of stuff, and just enjoy what we've got for the next half an hour or 40 minutes or however long it lasts. I'll explain the UI of this thing before we bring Corey in, because sometimes these webinar platforms are a bit different, and this one works on this basis. You've got the main section, which we're going to look at the video of Corey doing whatever he's going to do. And then on the right-hand side, we've got general chat, which is just anything you want to put in there. And then beneath that is a poll and an offer. And there's going to be an offer which is probably available to you already in the offer section. So there's a little poll, there's an offer. And if you want to ask any questions, probably better to put them in the question box at the bottom, as opposed to putting them in the general chat. We'll just leave general chat for the sort of hello, how are you sort of stuff. But yeah, okay. So let's get started. Now, let's introduce Corey. We'll put him front and center. There's me down at the bottom waving, and there's Corey. How are you doing, Corey? You all right?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. He's got a new rig. He's got a new setup, which is...
Yeah, this fancy, high school graduate sort of lighting. Make me look my best.
Yeah, it's good. I've got a halogen lamp just sort of pointing at the wall, and I look really fussy and horrible compared to
you. Look fine. You look fine.
I look like the middle-aged guy I am. We're not gonna spend a long looking at us. We're gonna stick Corey's screen on. So if you can make that happen, Corey.
Sure.
See if it works. We had a few glitches earlier trying to get the screens to work. So if that doesn't work,
button is once again not working for me.
Yeah, just click refresh and come back in, and we'll go for it. So I'll just keep waffling on. I should say, whilst Corey's disappeared for a moment, we've got a bunch of these webinars coming up on WP Builds. If you go to wpbuilds.com/webinars, you can find that there's a whole bunch of them. I think we've got 4 coming up, something like that. That's a little glitch, isn't it? A little glitch in our system here. So
yeah, if you click share my screen and then don't choose something, and I think if you close it,
okay,
it won't reopen. So it doesn't like that.
Okay, well, we know now. Right, let's get your screen going on. So I guess we should just very briefly introduce Corey. He was on the podcast, the WP Builds podcast. Ooh, what do you reckon? 3 months or so ago, we probably recorded it, and it went out fairly recently. And he's got a WordPress plugin. Here it is, called Kanban. Well, it looks like it's called Kanban in the admin UI, but it's called KanbanWP. What's the URL? Is it KanbanWP.com?
That's right.
So if you go over to KanbanWP.com, there you'll know you're in the right place, because there's a picture of a little bird, a little green bird, floating in the top left-hand corner. And Kanban is a Japanese word meaning kind of, well, I don't know what it means, but it's the process of kind of organizing things into, I'm going to get this wrong, I want to say horizontal. It's not, it's vertical. Into vertical columns, or should I just say columns, because they're vertical. So that you can basically take any kind of task. And in our podcast, he explained how the Japanese car manufacturers had come up with this notion, and they were using Post-it notes essentially to take one task from one place to another. But you've put it into WordPress for us. So if it's all right with you, Corey, I'm basically going to hand it over to you to go for it. And I'll interrupt if I see fit.
Makes sense.
Right.
So Kanban, I believe, means sign or card in Japanese, which kind of makes sense if you think of a Post-it note, or I guess I was trying to, as you said that, I was trying to remember when sticky notes. We should use the non-copyrighted version of sticky notes when they were actually invented. I'm not sure they were invented around in the 50s, but
put a pin in it.
Yeah. So you can go Google that, look up the Wikipedia entry while I'm chatting here. But yeah, so a few years ago, I was looking for a Kanban solution for a company that I was working for, and being a WordPress developer, of course, ran over to the plugin directory, said there must be a Kanban plugin that we could use. And lo and behold, there really wasn't. A couple of project management apps sort of kind of had them, but not really. So I said, aha, here's a great opportunity. So that started my journey now almost 3 years ago of building this plugin. So if you take a look at the screen here, I've got a fresh install going. So this is basically the screen you see the moment you click activate. What we've tried to do here is give you a few common use cases, presets, so that you can get up and running a little quicker than than setting up a board yourself. But we can go over some of that customization later. So the most common one, I think, for most people, when most people think of Kanban boards, they think of project management. But what's been interesting is over my few years now of running this plugin, I've had a chance to see how a lot of thousands of people use and abuse the Kanban pattern. And it's interesting how the way I usually put it is the biggest use case, the most common use case, is project management. But the truth is most of our customers do not use it for project management. So about a third use it for project management, and then everybody else uses it for a variety of different uses. So some of the other more common ones are as an editorial calendar, for job applicant tracking. So basically you'd have a form on your website that says, hey, you want to work with us, fill out this form. And that form, that application, ends up as a card on a Kanban board. Sales pipeline. So you'd have a column for each status of moving new leads through your sales pipeline. A basic board. This is where most people start, which is, to do, doing, and done. And then,
Sorry, can you just scroll up a bit, because we're losing you at the bottom of sales pipeline. That's okay.
I forgot that. Can I scroll? How do I scroll?
It doesn't matter. I'll tell you where we can see up to on your screen, just below about an inch, I would say. Yeah, sales pipeline, we kind of cut off roughly about 2/3 of the way down that little box. So there we go.
Jump this up. Oops, that's the wrong window. Well rehearsed and professional.
Oh, it's okay.
There we go. So
yeah, that's
sales
great.
pipeline, basic, and custom. You get the idea.
Yep. So is basic kind of nothing's filled in? It's all just blank.
So basic is the 3 steps: to do, doing, and done. And then custom is the empty one where you want to build it, apparently.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm just going to fill the screen. Excellent. Okay. So what's a good one to start with? Well, let's just do the basic, as I said. So you just select basic. But again, the idea is that you can customize this completely once you get in. So set it up. Turn off there's always notices, right? This is WordPress, so you've got to have notices. But anyway, so here on the back end,
just to be clear, all that you did there was install the plugin. That's the landing screen, and then you clicked one button, which was set up custom, and then now we're there. That's all it took.
Correct. So we are still in the WordPress admin, but the board is set up. And a quick tour while we're here. So there's a little video that gets you through the basics. All of the settings in the current version are here in the admin. There's a little upsell for Kanban Pro, which we'll talk about later. And then contact us. So, 2 clicks to contact support so we can help you if you run into any issues.
Nice.
But of course, why we're here is we open up our board. So here's your basic Kanban board. And like we said, we clicked the basic preset that had 3 steps. So you've got 3 columns: to do, doing, and done.
Okay. That actually satisfies about 90% of everything that I would use it for. Just those 3 columns. That's perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. This is the current version, or what we call version 2. We are working on a version 3 that hopefully comes out next year, or not hopefully, will come out next year.
Yeah, I noticed on your website you're beta testing it at the moment, aren't you? So
that's right.
It must
That's
be
right.
fairly close. Yeah.
So what we've got are, again, 3 columns. And if you're not familiar with Kanban, the whole concept is this. You've got columns or lanes that represent a status, right? In this case, to do, doing, and done. And each card or task represents, something that needs to get done. The idea here is that different from a to-do list, right, where you add something to a list and then you check it off. If a task is in progress, you have no way of knowing that. And so either it's done or it's not done. It's checked or it's not checked. And you have no way of introducing intermediary steps. There's no sense of workflow. And it's really tough if you've got more than one person working on a task to represent, like if I'm a developer, then something is in development. If Nathan's going to do the QA, then, there's no way to know that I'm done with developing and now he's ready for QA, or he's doing QA, or it's done. So that's the basic concept, the very simple concept, but very, very powerful behind Kanban. So again, we've got a first task here, a first card. So if this were our first task, let's say Corey, this is something to be done. Corey moves it to doing. So now I'm working on it, whatever our task is. The beauty of this pattern is that at any point between now and when I finish the card, I, Nathan, anybody could sign in and see, oh, this is what's being worked on. Not maybe, with a to-do list, maybe it's being worked on, maybe it's not, maybe it's still sitting in limbo. And then, it's checked or it's not checked, it's done. So here we've got something that's actually in progress. And then we move it over to done. And now, again, anybody who looks at this knows the status of this task, right?
Yeah.
So generally, you come in here. Oops, I'm on the wrong window.
No, you're good, I think.
I'm not going to do notifications. All right. So you click the add button.
Yeah.
You've got first task, right? You've got second task. And basically, the pattern is just like if you like you, Nathan, I am middle-aged. And the secret sauce, more than 10 years ago now, was a little book called Getting Things Done.
Yeah.
And one of the prescribed tasks from that was get everything out of your head, get it out of your head and into an app or into a list or into some system where you're going to manage all of your tasks. So here's where this, the to-do column comes in, where basically, you go in and the other nice thing about this is you get it out of your head. It's all in one place. You can move it up and down. You can prioritize things. So not only, can you move things between lanes, but obviously you can move things in priority. But that, like, again, with a to-do list, things are done or they're not done. Everything is in one place. As opposed to with Kanban, it's all on your screen, but you've got different categories, different statuses. So you also, you have this, it's in agile programming. It's also often called the backlog, where you've got all of your tasks, but in one place. And so anytime you get an idea, you're in the shower. Well, it's hard to add tasks while you're in the shower, but you wake up at 2 a.m. sweating, going, "Oh, I forgot about the widget." You can go in here. You can add a widget to the to-do column, the backlog column, and then you're not going to forget it. So that's kind of the power. Now, again, the current version was built a few years ago, specifically designed for project management. So we've got a few extra fields here that specifically speak to that use case. So one of the things we do is we offer an estimate. So basically you can say this is going to take 1 day, and you can adjust this in the settings, but by default, 1 day equals 8 hours of work. So as you go in and you start doing some work, if I move my mouse here, you see a little progress bar go across.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why
approaching 8. 8 is complete, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. So, so if you're at halfway, you're still in the green, and you're 50% complete here. And then if you get to the point where you're over, whoops, now you're orange, and I think it goes to red
If you go really, really over.
If you go really over, but this is a great way for not only for somebody, the project manager, your boss, you, to know how on schedule you are, but track progress over time.
Yep.
And then the last column here is you have the option of assigning a card to somebody, and this is a great way to pass the buck. So where if this is me and I'm working on this task and then I move it to doing, I could then assign it to Nathan. Sorry, I forgot to add him to this demo.
That's okay.
But basically, you've got all your users here, and so you can assign a task to the next person. So when they come in, they can look at the board and say, here's a new task waiting for me to do it. Off I go.
Does if I were to assign it to, say, me, would I receive any kind of email or any update in that way, or would it just be wait until you log in and notice it?
Right now, it's you do with the pro version, you do get an email that notifies you that something's been assigned to you. And with the new version coming out next year, that's going to be included in the free version, and we're actually going to get a little more tricky with it, where there's going to be more advanced notification options, emails for different things that you do, not just if things are assigned to you and that kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about the new version.
That's okay. You go for it. It's good to know.
We're kind of in flux. Like I said, we're beta testing the new version, and it brings a lot more to the table. I'm just so excited. It solves a lot of the problems that I've unearthed over the last 3 years. That the original plugin, what you're looking at, hints at or starts to solve or can solve with a little work. We're going to end up making a lot of things easier, but we can plug the new version later. Anyway, so this is really kind of the basics of Kanban. You've got a few extra options where you can, copy tasks and move them around. But, by and large, this is basically it. You've got a search that lets you find the cards you need, and then a basic filtering system so that you can find cards that are assigned to you. So there's your a better answer to your question of not only can you filter to find the tasks that are assigned to you, but you can actually bookmark that. So what a lot of people do is filter, create a bookmark, and then use that as when they go to load the board, it automatically loads up the stuff that is only assigned to them, which then of course they can turn off if they want to see the status of everything, that kind of thing.
So you've got 3 lanes there. Is there a capability in, now that this has been set up, could we make it into a 4th lane?
No, of course.
No.
Yes, absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
So back we go into the admin. You've got settings here. And there's lots of little things that we've added over time. Again, you could say I want to log my work in 15-minute increments instead of hours.
Oh, was that the little drop down earlier where you were demonstrating?
Exactly.
Yep. Okay, so you can put it into 10 is 10 minutes and so on. Yep.
A few different display options. Excuse me. And this is where you can assign up. We would have assigned Nathan here.
Yep.
So this is a little broken on my this install, but basically, yes, this is where, let's say you want to add a QA column.
Okay, I got it.
Save your settings. But where is? Yep, this is totally broken. But anyway,
no, I saw for a brief moment. Are you trying to move it up for a brief moment? It did look like it was
there
movable.
We go.
There.
Okay. So QA, save, and then if we go back to our board and we hit refresh, now you've got 4 lanes.
Got it.
And this is one of the beauties of this system is now that I think about it, presets might even be generous, where basically we should make everybody start with 3 columns. Because that's where you start learning, right? And just start getting used to the system. And then the beauty of this is, again, just as you're sort of suggesting here, is as your needs grow, as your team expands, as roles get introduced, you can add new columns. So you can say, we now have a QA person. let's introduce QA. We've often, for project management, or excuse me, for like agile web development, often you'll have, again, a backlog and then a list. What is it? The icebox? No, wait, that's the backlog. Well, anyway, there's a column for, everything that we could conceivably do, and then what are we supposed to do in the next 2 weeks?
Right.
And then things that are actually being worked on, and then moving across. I think it's interesting here to talk about some of the other presets and just how people are using them, because this tends to inspire people to get creative to solve their own needs, right?
Great. Yeah, let's do it.
One of the other presets was editorial calendar. So I ran into this early on with a group of people who run a website where they review video games. And I think most of the intent was for video game manufacturers to send them free copies of video games, but I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
That's a great gig.
So they had a column all the way to the left that was story ideas, right? And every new game that would come in, or any writer at any point could add a new card saying, I want to write about, the defense in this game, or, the graphics in this game, or how this game compares to this game, that kind of thing. And then a column of, I think it was assigned to, right? So now somebody had actually picked up that story and was writing it. Then they had a column that was to be edited, right? So the writing is done, and now it's waiting for an editor. Now an editor assigns it to themselves and moves it into editing. And then when they were done, they moved it to a last column that was ready to be published. And then there was another column off screen that was archive, right? So once it's published, once it's done, they can move it to archive. And one of the neat advanced features for archive is it'll automatically delete itself after 30 days. So it'll even take care of some of the house cleaning for you. But it was really neat. I hadn't run into this use case before. And they used things like, again, in Pro, you've got the option of attaching files. So they would, or embedding links and adding images. And so they would use those to add basically the featured image, like the article, cover art that they were proposing. They would attach Google Docs, or they would attach press releases and that kind of thing. And then, again, move this story across until it was published. And it was just a great way for them to organize. If you can imagine, I think, 20 or 30 writers, video game players. So I can just imagine a scenario of roughly akin to herding cats. And this is how they stayed organized, right? Instead of email, and the poor young woman who ran the website, with a notebook and kind of frantically trying to keep track of everything on sticky notes, around her monitor or whatever. Here you had the entire workflow, everything in progress, including every idea, all the way through to everything that's been published, all in one place. That was really neat.
Yeah, it's very clever. Yeah, and it's nice that the way you mentioned it there's like about 9 or 10 columns going on, all very granular and bespoke for the exact workflow that they've got.
Exactly. So the other fun one. So that's kind of I think, very complementary to WordPress. Obviously, if you're using your WordPress site as a blog, publishing lots of articles, this is how Kanban fits in beautifully. The other fun scenario that I like to walk through is we had, this is more than a year ago now, we had a guy who was sending us emails, and I still answer most of the support emails, had this guy emailing and going, how do you do this? And how do you do this? And he kept asking these sort of funny questions that were clearly an indicator that he was using Kanban for something bizarre and interesting. And of course, it made me curious. So I finally wrote him back and I said, please. And thankfully, I'd figured out workarounds for almost everything he wanted to do. I said, please tell me how you're using Kanban. And he said, I think he was 19. He lives in Russia. He is a breakdancer.
Wow.
And he was starting to offer a service or an online course teaching breakdancing. And I said, that's amazing. On so many levels, that's amazing. How are you using Kanban? And essentially, every student that signs up through his website gets access to a board. Now he had created a template board and then was just duplicating that for each new student. So you'd clone a board and then assign the student to that board. And now that student had their very own Kanban board to sign into, right? So the first column was called moves. And basically it had a breakdance move. This is me on camera trying to breakdance, but you can't see me.
That's probably a good thing.
He had shot a little video of every move, a head spin, a back spin, a knee spin, and he had embedded the video in each task. And as you, the student, attempted each task, you would move that task into the next column, which was called tried it. And then he had a next column called stuck it. And then the next column called mastered it.
Yeah.
And in this way, you would say, okay, today I'm going to try a head spin. Good luck, and you'd move that card into the next column. You'd watch the video. You'd try it. You hopefully not break your neck. Once you stuck the move a couple of times, you'd move it to stuck it. And you might move on to the next thing. But the idea being that everything in the stuck it column you should review, right? And presumably once you'd stuck it, once a day for a week, you could move it to mastered. And I mean so we wrote about him on our blog. We've got a couple of pictures of him busting a move. But how cool,
Yeah.
This is the type of thing that me as a business owner and product developer, I live for.
But it's also kind of just demonstrative of the fact that it can be used for anything. This methodology, this Kanban technique, there's absolutely no limits.
It's
the
exactly
fact that
right.
you've got on there to do, doing, and done on the screen with QA just pushed in just now. And that is largely how I do it. As an example, I've got when I'm doing things like this, I've got a board which sort of says contacted such and such a person. And then the next stage would be I've received a reply, and then the next stage is confirmed, and then the next stage is it's live. It's done, and that works perfectly for me. And it's really visual, and I can see in a blink of an eye exactly what I've got to do. I'm interested in all these settings. I know it's a bit boring for you because you know them inside and out, but what I find is on these kind of videos, people want to really see what the settings show.
Sure, what options. So I just activated Kanban Pro.
Okay.
So good opportunity to kind of walk through some of the differences, especially because most of them actually pertain to this settings section, right?
Just to confirm, Kanban Pro is, sorry, I say Kanban, I know that's different, but that's a paid for upgrade that you can get from the website, KanbanWP.com. What's the cost?
It's $150 for a year.
Okay.
Or we just introduced a lifetime license. So if you pay me $500, then you can have it forever, all upgrades, everything included.
Okay, right. Let's go for it. Let's assume that some of these settings are in Pro and some are in free, and where it's important to point them out.
That's
Corey.
exactly right. So one of the first big differences is that the name of the board you're editing. Am I here? Hello, hello. Okay, excellent.
Hey, Corey, I don't know if it's the same for anybody else.
Mic check, 1, 2.
We've got a few people.
See, I'm more of a rapper than a breakdancer.
I've lost Corey's audio. Corey, you're back. John's just said, audio problems. John,
it's headphones. Nothing's changed
for you. He's back for me.
I'm not sure what's gonna.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, I'm getting a little.
Hey, Corey, what I'm getting is a little echo as well. I don't know if you've got any. You're not coming out of headphones.
Well, yeah, let us know in the chat room if it keeps getting
speakers or anything
worse,
like that.
and I can refresh. I've also got other people in the house that are streaming video games.
It can be ignored.
So, there's always a question.
Okay. Okay.
Will do.
Yeah, I've got a real big echo now. I've got you sort of 1 second, sort of like a you say something and then immediately afterwards you say it again. So maybe hit refresh. Yeah. Okay. Just whilst Corey refreshes, hopefully you can hear me, John. I don't know if my echo is terrible and inaudible and horrible, but hello. Oh, thanks, John. That's great. Just to say that Corey is one of many webinars that are coming on in the next few weeks. You're back. Great. If you want to share your screen, Corey, we'll go back. And then Carson says he's got no echo problem, so maybe it's just me and you and John.
Yeah, I've even when we were testing beforehand, I was getting a little flanging off of you.
Yeah.
But assumed that it's, because I'm able to talk.
You sound 100% crystal clear to me now. So let's get your screen back on and look at the Pro. The Pro version.
All right. Perfect. So again, this is something introduced in Pro, but we're going to include at least some of this functionality in the new version coming out next year, is the option of creating multiple boards. Okay. So we now introduce, this is what our screen looked like before. And if I refresh, you'll see that there's now a tab at the top here.
Okay.
And so back in settings, you can add another board. And this is before, and then our new board is for marketing. You hit save. There is not. Okay. There's not. Oh, it does get a little unruly eventually.
Okay. Is there any limit to the number of boards there?
And we are working on a way to basically have a couple of tabs showing and then a drop down so you can move around a little more easily. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I see. I didn't understand. To me, it looked like a gray bar. It's not. It's a bar occupied by tabs. So so the more you put in,
tab, a board.
All right.
Right. So you can assign users specifically to one board and not another. So this is where, permissions start to come in, and you can basically expand the app to support different teams. So you might have your marketing team assigned to the marketing board and your web development team assigned to your web development board, and then your management team assigned to both or something like that. Again, the different columns, I apologize for the layout of that. But again, you can have different. So this is our to-do, doing, QA, and done. If I switch over to marketing, go to statuses, this is where you create the board, and it's different, right? So, marketing is going to have what would be marketing columns would be, yeah, exactly. But it's, you can always start with the same basics, right? Doing, well, and so there you might look at, analytics.
Now you
right?
lost me on it.
I totally spelled it wrong. Analytics, right? So you might look at the impact of your. So let's see, what would marketing would be
number 3.
Released.
Marketing,
right?
done.
And then you'd look at analytics. I'm obviously not a marketing person. But anyway, the idea is that, so again, if we go over here and we refresh and you go to marketing, now you've got to do, released, and analytics, whereas in web development, you've got our original 4 columns. So, so you can have different workflows for different use cases.
I am of no help
either. This is where you can manage those estimates. So on that first column, right. And, so it may be in marketing, So maybe in marketing, instead of working by the hour, you're working by the day, because most projects take a day. I don't know. Notification settings. This is a pro feature. This is what you were asking about. So basically, anytime there's a change to a card, you'll get notified. So if it's been assigned to you, you'll get notified. That kind of thing. Task colors is a little feature, but a powerful one. If we go back over to, oops.
There
we go. Small screen. I am not used to this. So basically, adding different colors lets you add different urgencies. So then if you go back, or at least that's how a lot of people use them. It's another way to indicate status. Oops, where are we? Oh, it's in
No,
here.
yeah.
So you go to red. Now you've got a little red thing, you know, very eye-catching, something that's going to let somebody know that this is urgent, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So that's task colors. Task fields is also really powerful. So this lets you add custom fields to
that's nice.
your
I like
cards.
that implementation. I've
So
never
if
seen
you
it that
wanted to
way,
say,
with
well,
the
there you
little
go, add
cutaway
a
in the
date
corner.
field,
That's
right?
really bold,
if something is
and
due
it
on a
really
given date,
shouts at you.
save your settings, go back over here, refresh, click the little down arrow, and now you've got a due date, right? So with a date picker, so you can say, okay, this is due on, you know, next Wednesday, what have you. And so again, another echo. Echoey is fine. I think that's just us, but.
And Curry, you're breaking up on me again.
Exactly. Over here.
Yeah, a bit echoey, and I lost you for a second.
But over here, we're fans of.
I can live with echoey, geez, but I am. Johnson, someone's playing Fortnite.
Anyway. No, well, it's the popular video game that's now.
It's the age-old problem. It's not age-old. It's
tournaments
the problem of contending with bandwidth with your family.
It's not Fortnite. It's another run around and shoot 'em up. But
anyway. We'll live. It's fine. Carry on. You're with date field. I want to see what the field you got.
We'll get back on task here. So all of the different field types. Oh, you can't see the drop down, huh? So
Netflix,
date with countdown. So it'll tell you you've got, you know, a week left, a day left, that kind of thing. You can add an image so that the image actually shows up on the card, which is again a great way of showing things for approval, that kind of thing. Adding text, so basically a block of text. Add a description. A lot of people will put in, you know, small bits of copy that need to be approved or edited and
tell us,
you know, by multiple people. To-do list, so you can actually add basically subtasks to your task.
Yep.
And a lot of people start to use this when it comes down to if a card represents a small project for you, or you just don't want to forget that there are a number of steps to complete a task. This is a great one. List of users and list of colors. So it kind of expands beyond the assign to. You can say, you know, these are the 5 people that need to know about this, or if you're using colors in a variety of ways. And again, this is another one of those things that people use it in ways beyond what I'd ever imagined. Gives you options for expanding. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And one of the things that, we emphasize and are going to be emphasizing even more in the new version is this kind of customization, because like I said, I locked the product into project management, and you saw that's probably a lot of general settings. One of the first settings that I had to add was hide time tracking. Because a lot of people are like, I use this possibly for tracking sales. There's no such thing as time tracking. It's
nothing like the complexity you've got there. That's
and
brilliant.
so that's one of those things that going forward, not only can you build out the board the way you want with the columns you want, but you can really build out all of the fields to be exactly what you want and only what you want.
Yep.
Exactly. And and we definitely have users that abuse that, but hey, that's their workflow. That's how they want to use it. That's kind of the point, right? And so one of the things that we are introducing in the new version is, so here on the current version, you've got all of those original
I guess you've got to be a
fields,
little bit circumspect.
and then if you want to see the extra
if you
fields,
add in a whole bunch of fields,
you've got to
then
expand the
each card itself
and
becomes like
we
a
really
whole
like
lane.
that. We received a lot of great
Just
feedback
field
about
upon
how
field
some
upon
fields
field,
can
yeah.
be hidden, but you don't have to open a modal, let's say, to get to those extra fields. Again, in the new version, you can customize which fields are in which area. So you've essentially got 3 different places that you can put fields to kind of say, you know, this is the most urgent, or this is the most necessary, or this is the field that's going to change the most often. So those would be always visible. And then you've got hidden on a card so that you can have it still next to other cards. But you know, you've got one click to get into it, right? And then we are actually introducing a modal to give us more room, so that if you want even a 3rd level of fields, things that really never change, or file attachments, that kind of thing, you can put some fields there. So there is.
Yeah.
Right. What, you don't like my design? Come on, man.
One thing that just struck me was: is there any capability to fiddle with the CSS? So, for example, if I've got great,
we of course offer this is again is a pro feature now.
Let's say that I was tracking my hours and my
though we're gonna move it back to the free version next year.
The 1D and the
is
they to me are
ability to comment.
I would want those.
So you've got basic system, like that, you know, what we call system
but you can do
comments,
that. That's great.
Where it tells you that Corey's made changes to this card.
No, I love your design.
And then the option to you know, to add a comment, and that's all live synced. So, or it should be. Yeah, there it is. You know, so here's Corey adding a comment, and you can do some basic filtering where you can, you know, show only the system comments, only the user comments, or what have you. And obviously this looks a little better on a bigger screen.
Okay.
This is a little unwieldy, but you get the idea. So this gives you the option to have a conversation around a task, you know, and it's all logged in one place, and it's all attached to that task, so that you're not over in Slack or I was going to say HipChat, but Slack just bought HipChat. You know, somewhere else having a conversation and then talking about these tasks. You can have that conversation here, and everybody can go back and see what decisions were made, all related to the task at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was so much smaller, but
with this, forgive me if I've misunderstood this. It's quite possible that I have. In terms of the user permissions, it sounds like everybody is an equal.
Sure,
so it's my team, if you like,
not
and
so
everybody's
much.
got the same capabilities.
What
that's
we
way
do
better,
offer
by
is
the
a
way.
client
You've suddenly got.
So basically, it's a read-only version.
So it's suddenly grown.
And that was kind of what we needed to start with. And then you know, to address your specific question, allow clients to comment.
View
so there's that level of granularity, but not more.
Or perhaps
and that's one of those things that is truly being introduced in version 3, where different
permission.
It's been amazing. The list of requests I've had. Very specifically for, I want a user to be able to do this, but not this, and then this, but only under these circumstances. Pretty amazing. And so I think we've done a good job in the new version of distilling that down, so you can give somebody, a user or a group of users, a lot of permission or a lot of capabilities, but without having to check off 1,000 checkboxes. You know, I think there's 9. Kind of depending on what you want them to do and how you want to empower a user. So I'm sure we got it completely wrong, but it's at least a step in the right direction, where it's going to be introducing where you can read cards, you can write cards, you can read, like I said, there's fields and hidden fields, so you can have people being able to see and edit the visible fields, but only the management can use the hidden fields, and introducing new fields like a rating field, so thumbs up, thumbs down, right? So if you want to have lots of people discussing, let's say a job applicant, everybody can be commenting, but only management can actually give them a thumbs up, thumbs down, or something like that. So exactly. So that kind of covers most of it. Obviously there's lots of little fiddly bits, but I think that covers most of what I wanted to show you today.
Right. So that's much more granular. Yeah, so the version 3 starts to build in those capabilities that I was just, okay. That's great. Yeah.
So there's
I think so.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and blur that out or something. Here we come.
That's great. Thank you. What I would say is, would it be possible for you on your screen, rather than me taking control and everything, is it possible for you to show us the sort of current pricing, I think my bandwidth on your homepage or your regular page, so that we can get an idea of?
So,
so
yeah, if we go over,
don't use that license key, by the way. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There we go. / something. Kanban Pro. It's Firefox is just playing havoc with you, isn't it? Yeah, Fortnite. Whilst you're doing that, I'll just talk for a moment. If we've got a few people in, I don't know if anybody's got any questions. If you do, this is probably one of the best times you're going to get to speak to Corey and ask him about a particular feature.
I want to put it out there that
perhaps even suggest a particular feature, or say, is this coming?
A WordPress developer.
Put it. Scroll below the video.
I run this business.
The window, the box, the rectangle.
For better or worse, I've built the plugin from scratch.
Questions tab.
And
scroll into that.
A very active participant.
Write your question out. If not, if nobody's got any questions, we'll wrap it up.
The WordPress community at large. So if you guys want to ask me questions about anything related to WordPress, or I suppose either not, but let's not get too personal. By all means, enter them into that questions box below. That's true.
The other thing I would say is one of the nice things I always think about getting in on a plugin where there's 1 or 2 people involved is you kind of get the feeling that when you send that support email in, or that feature request in, or the problem that you're having, you know that it's going to be dealt with, in this case by Corey, I'm guessing.
And like hopefully nice, I've indicated that over the last few years, not only have I received a ton of feedback, but carefully consider all of it,
sure where that's going to end up, or
and certainly
the level
towards integrating
responsibility,
the things that make sense, or at least solving the problems that
you'll be doing it. And
have. I don't always implement the exact button that's requested, but usually
tiers of the Pro plan. Then you're gonna be able to speak to Corey and hopefully guide how it develops into the future.
Three years. So I've been, my background is I've actually been building websites since about 97. So over 20 years now, building web apps
I'll tell you what, though, you've got far more
2003,
chance with
2004,
you
so
than
15
with
years.
a team of 10.
And then
That's for sure. Yeah,
pretty much
without
full-time
doubt. I think
WordPress since
that's
about
a real
2010.
plus. And the fact that you've been doing
8
it
years
for, what did you say, how
dedicated
many years you've
largely
been
to
doing this?
WordPress and that ecosystem.
That says a lot,
so
frankly.
It's well, I wouldn't go that far. Let's not get crazy here. You know, American capitalist and all that, but you know, with a heart of gold. So John has a question. Shall I jump in?
Yep.
Ooh,
Well,
so what is the button
somebody
do?
to be trusted, somebody who knows their stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Somebody to not be trusted. We don't.
Sorry, John. So to answer your question, right now we've
John
got integrations with.
Please explain the
mostly
third party.
Form builder
the integrations with
Ninja
third-party
Forms
apps. So I'll
and
click the
Gravity
start answering
Forms
button and go for it.
Are the two that are the two that we have right now. So there's the code is written in a way that
such that if
one
somebody
can
wants
write code to
see where that
extend,
question got answered,
integrations with other things
from about 12
we are
seconds
working
ago,
on
it was there.
with systems like Trello or Asana, basically other project management apps. Though why anybody would want to use two project management apps, I don't know. And then also things like Zapier, so that you can push data around and basically be notified if something gets updated, or other actions on your website will create cards within your Kanban board, that kind of thing. So right now, like I said, we're integrated basically with form builders, because that's largely what we've seen people use. Gravity Forms and Ninja Forms.
Yeah. Tell me again, which of the WordPress form plugins are you dealing with? Gravity Forms?
Most of those things. I don't think we got as
so
far
as an example,
as
give me
file
an example of how that might work.
So
let's
or
say
at least image attachments.
I've created a Gravity form.
The rest of the stuff. So
what kind of stuff
the
could I
original
suck
use
out of
case
that
was
form
support
and put
tickets.
into?
So having some
can I, for example,
an
fill in any
urgency
of those
would assign a
custom
color,
fields that you described, like date
depending
fields
on the drop down, whether it's
user
like a
fields
sales
and all that kind of
request
stuff,
or a
can I upload images
you know,
into
a
a
technical
card?
a
Can I
bug
put a
report
card in a particular lane?
It can go into a different lane, that kind of thing. So
great.
Yeah. Exactly
Okay.
right. Exactly right. So, you know, so instead of living in your inbox where all of your emails, you know, are in amongst your
okay, yeah.
webinar announcements or you know, upsells or you know, SaaS app notifications, whatever it is, Netflix pushing their latest movies on you, not that that's a bad thing, right? But you know, but basically you can sign into your Kanban board every day and
so
see
you can
if there are
roll your own
requests
support system,
or, you know, or new sales leads, that kind of thing.
Nice. Oh, it's horrible. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, right. So that's very clear.
Yeah,
I can
I'm
really
excited.
imagine the capabilities.
They've really
it's
only
funny
come on
how
our
you
radar in
just
the last
talked
year
about your
or so.
email. Just
I
the
think
fact that it's
a lot of
horizontal
people
as opposed to
have been
vertical
watching them
makes
for a
such a
couple of
difference. I
years
don't know
and
why that is.
sort of seeing if
I guess it's the way we read,
there are
you know,
real
from
world
left
use
to right
cases.
in my case.
And then also, especially with this stuff,
I'll
what
mark that as
I
stopped
try
answering.
not to do is
the
nerd
Zapier,
out too much, right?
John
like
in the
building out
general
these deep
chat says that the
APIs,
Zapier
because
integration
I
would be
frankly
an
am
absolute
nervous
killer.
about
I think
too
he's
many
right.
other developers
Because then you can push it anywhere, can't you?
getting themselves into trouble, let's say. So I try to offer, just enough options, just enough interactions. And Zapier at this point, I think, has gotten to the point where integrations have become easier to build and easier to interact with. So that's something that's definitely high on our list of integrations, just because, as he said, the amount of power that it would give you would be phenomenal. Me too. Well, and I think there's a difference, right? If this then that is a UI, but it trains you to think answering that exact question or filling in the blanks of that exact sentence. Zapier is, one level is at least often used as one level
reach
deeper,
of the ecosystem.
Right? So it's still, you're still connecting
in the
the
day,
dots.
I was
again,
a big
we're now
fan
trained to
if
think
this,
that
then
way.
that, and that seems to
but
have got
it's
left behind.
it's a little
the paid model,
if such a word exists.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's become a common ground.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's instead of me building an integration for Ninja Forms, Ninja Forms has a Zapier integration. I have a Zapier integration. Now those two things can talk to each other.
Email clients,
and it basically expands
like
my
you
ecosystem.
Push this data or suck this data from something else.
Definitely want, because
this.
a lot more people are looking at
and when this card reaches
using WordPress
this
as
stage,
the command center for their business, but it's getting you can't necessarily host all apps or do all actions from your WordPress dashboard, or maybe you shouldn't. So this way you can integrate with a lot more systems that are external or want to stay external, or maybe are just better run, not self-hosted like this.
Yeah. It's really clever.
Yeah, thank you, John. Sure. So Pro, like I said, costs just $149, round up to $150. Or you can buy a lifetime.
Okay,
let's we
don't seem to have any more questions at the moment.
And that gets you
in here still
a working license for as long as I'm in business.
They don't want to participate in that way, so that's fine. Thank you,
new
John,
versions
for
of Pro,
posting that question.
Everything included.
Shall we talk about the pricing, and then finally we'll wrap up with the little deal that you've offered to the people watching this?
Yeah, so I decided to keep it simple. You can do as many installs as you want with either license. The only thing you can't do is resell, basically resell access. So.
Does the lifetime feature, let's say, for example, the capability to deploy this on client websites, or is it just a personal license for life? Okay. Great. Yeah. Sell it again. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. That's very commendable and $100
off the lifetime.
Yeah, great. What I would say is that if you are watching this video, either on the replay or live, there's a little offers tab.
$30 off.
If you click on the button and enter the code WP, this is all in lowercase, by the way. WP builds 2018.
We are developers,
no spaces,
not
no hyphens, no nothing. Corey has very kindly given 20% off. Does that apply to either the annual and the lifetime? Both. Okay.
Yeah. So, no, that'd carry forward.
Okay. So $399-ish, somewhere like that. And something. I'm trying to do the maths quickly. It's about let's say it's $30 off. Yeah.
Shake your fist at me, and like I said, I answer almost every email. So and by all means, yell at me, and I'll fix it.
Yeah, we can't do math. Does that mean that 20% off carries forward, or do you have a discount each year anyway, or? Okay. Perfect. Yeah. That's great. Do you know what? Well, if it doesn't, they can reach out to you and say, I saw it on a video and you said it would. Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? This has been the most perfectly timed podcast of all time. It's now 59 minutes and 27 seconds, which gives me about 30 seconds to say thank you. Thanks to the people that have come in and watched and listened. Appreciate that. Oh, here I am again. You've hung up your screen. And thank you for making the time to come. It's easy for me to sit here and sort of say these things glibly, like I don't mean it, but I really do. Thank you. I really genuinely appreciate it. It's just a very kind of humbling thing to do these kind of things, and people actually make the effort to give up their time. It's just wonderful and lovely.
Well, thank you for having me and giving me a chance to talk about KanbanWP, and thanks everybody who attended. I really appreciate you taking the time to find out more about my product. Please go check it out. I mean, this is the fun thing about WordPress plugins is you could start from free. So
yes,
go to the well, maybe we didn't actually say that.
No,
so
we didn't.
The free version is in the plugin directory. Go install it for free, give it a try, and then consider the upgrade. Yeah,
that's marvelous advice. Thank you, Corey. Thanks to everybody who came in. Much appreciated. I'm going to click the stop button now. If there's anything that you want, fine. Oh, Corey, what's the best way to get in touch with you outside of this webinar?
Oh, sure. So email me through the website. Again, I answer almost every email, or on Twitter at Corey Maass, spelled Maass. Probably the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Perfect. That'll do nicely. I'm going to click the stop button. Thanks, guys, for being here. I much appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.